Despite what the Princeton professor thinks, we don't have unlimited money. This is not Princeton. So we have to decide the cost and the benefits. And nobody seems to be able to quantify the costs. They just say, keep throwing money at it, throwing money at it, throwing money at it. And nobody can really quantify the benefits, except if we don't do it, then we're all going to die. And when I go back to my people and say, your electricity costs have gone up 30%, but it's for a good cause. Why, Kennedy? Because you're going to die if we don't do it. Why, Kennedy? Because a professor at Princeton says so.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Hot News Today. Today we're diving into a really eye-opening Senate hearing on electric vehicles. And let me just say, I've got to give credit where it's due. Senator Kennedy isn't afraid to ask the hard questions that most politicians shy away from. The video we're about to watch shows them pushing witnesses to actually quantify the cost of moving the entire country to electric cars. And spoiler alert, the experts really struggle. They talk about innovation, benefits, and global competitiveness. But when asked for hard numbers, they can't give any. Now, before we jump in, I want you to hit that like button if you think taxpayers deserve real answers before billions get spent on incentives. And don't forget to subscribe to Hot.
How many of you drive an electric car, own an electric car? Okay. You gentlemen don't?
If you mean electric by a battery electric, no. If you mean plug-in electric, yes.
Okay. Of the three folks who raised their hands, how many do you own gasoline-powered cars at all? No?
No, Senator.
No, all electric. Okay. Let me ask you all this, and please give me brief answers, because there are five of you, there's only one of me, okay? If electric cars are so swell, how come we have to pay people to drive them?
The upfront costs of an electric vehicle are about $10,000 higher today than they are for an equivalent internal combustion engine vehicle today, but that cost is declining substantially. Right. And so this is a temporary intervention to help the auto industry strategically compete in global markets and to transition as battery costs fall.
You didn't hear my admonition, okay?
Sorry.
Doc, how about if electric vehicles are so swell, how come we have to pay people to drive them?
I think sorry, Senator, I'll staple away from.
I can't see the names.
It's Gross, Ms. Gross here. I'll defer to not comment on policy questions about incentives and so on. Maybe
Tell
pass
me
it
your
off
name.
to
I
Ms.
can't
Hinman.
see your name tag.
Gross, I can switch.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I can swivel it.
I apologize. Would you start over?
I was just going to say I'd like to defer on policy grounds not to talk about policy incentives and so on, defer over to my colleague here, Ms. Hinman.
You don't believe in electric cars?
Oh, totally support electric vehicles and drive 3 of them myself.
So if they're so swell, how come we're having to pay people to drive them?
So just speaking personally then, not representing my company at this point.
Sure.
Speaking personally.
Who's your company?
EPRI, the Electric Power Research Institute.
Oh, okay.
And I have to be careful about policy stepping into wading too deeply into policy as an independent leader here. But when we think about, again, I just want to ditto what Dr. Jenkins said. This is an effort to compete
Yes, ma'am,
globally.
I know all that, but how, if they're so swell, how come we have to pay people to drive them?
Well, maybe then the quick answer for me is I didn't take advantage of incentives, but I also bought used vehicles on the market. I love it. They're wonderful to drive. And so on.
Okay.
Senator, similar for myself.
What's your name?
Maureen Hinman.
Damn.
My hair's longer in my picture, sorry.
I'm sorry, I don't even know who I'm talking to. Go ahead, Ms. Hinman.
I did want to follow up with my colleague, Ms. Gross. I purchased my first EV, fully
Yes,
electric.
ma'am, but
in
if they're so
2015.
swell, how come we have to pay people to drive them?
Well, I can only speak for myself, but we purchased our first vehicle in 2015 because it was easier to charge, cheaper to drive. It drives better, faster, smoother. There's no muck on the bottom of our garage. And frankly, when I had my first child, some of the safety features were just better.
But here's what I'm sorry, you're not answering my question. How many cars do we have in the United States?
280.
This lady right here. In the middle. I'm sorry, if I could see your name, I wouldn't just point to you.
If I could, I'd like to defer to my colleague who
Well,
has
I'd like
better.
to hear your answer, okay?
How many calls?
How many cars are there?
295 million.
Okay, and what percentage are electric vehicles?
1.6.
Okay, Hold up that chart. Here's where all the electric vehicles are. California loves them. The West Coast loves them. Everybody else is kind of lukewarm, okay? I'm trying to understand why. But let me move on to this. Let me ask these two gentlemen. I think the reason is because they're more expensive, and people when they drive a car like it to run, and when it runs out of electricity, it stops, and they can't find a place to charge. So let me ask these two gentlemen. I don't want to be unfair. So it's clear we got a long way to go. We got 283 million cars in America, and we got 3.3 million electric vehicles. We got a long way to go. And at least these three folks think that we need to take taxpayer money and give enough money to American people so they'll walk away from gas cars and drive electric vehicles. How much is that going to cost? I'm going to ask them in a second if I have time. But how much do you think it will cost for us to basically bribe every American to drive an electric car?
Well, Senator, excuse me, Dave Sweeter with the Alliance for Automotive Innovation. I would just underscore your original question with this. There's really two things at play as it relates to what's
happening. How much money do you think it'll cost to bribe the American people enough to make them drive electric cars, to move those numbers?
Electrification's increasing as it relates to cost. Only a fraction of currently eligible vehicles are eligible for the federal tax credit. So,
how much do you think it'll cost, David?
Senator, I think I quoted earlier that.
I'm calling on you, sir.
Apologies.
How much do you think it'll cost?
It ultimately depends on consumer adoption.
You don't know, do you?
We don't have an exact figure.
You think we'll just keep throwing money at it until we hit the jackpot? How about you, Mr. Davis?
Eventually, if you put enough charging stations there to solve for range anxiety, because the reason I didn't buy one is because I may have to drive 450 miles to East Tennessee for a moment.
The American taxpayer, for us to convince the American people, frankly, bribe the American people to get rid of the gas car and drive an electric car. Can any of you give me a figure?
Yes, Senator, the Treasury Department reports we spent about $1 billion year to date. So for the first half of this year, so roughly $2 billion this year.
We're behind.
As I noted.
How much do you think it'll cost, Doctor? You're a doctor,
So
right?
$2 billion this year is what the estimate from the Treasury Department.
How much do you think it will cost for us to, let's say, get 75% of these 200?
How much will it cost American consumers to remain?
How much? Do you know how much it'll cost, Doctor?
No one knows the future with certainty, Senator.
Right. You just think we ought to keep throwing money at it until we hit the jackpot.
I think we ought to set a stable policy framework that allows American consumers to become familiar with the environment and American businesses to innovate and to compete within that stable framework. That's what I said
And how
earlier in
much
my
will
testimony.
that cost?
Will cost less than the benefits delivered by the
You don't
policy.
care how much it costs, do you?
I care if the benefits exceed the costs. I don't care about the costs.
you
These
don't
are
care how
investments
much
in the
it
public.
costs, do you?
I care very much how much it costs. As long as the benefits exceed the costs, that's an investment worth making.
Well, so, okay.
How much does it cost to seed the industries of the future to China?
I get to ask the questions, Doc.
Sorry.
You're at Princeton, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. How are Jewish students doing at Princeton? Are they feeling better?
That has nothing to do with the hearing today. I'm not going to comment on that.
I didn't think you'd want to talk about that. Do any of you have any idea how much it would cost
Senator,
to get, say, 75% of the American people
Senator,
driving electric cars?
If I could, your question is fair. One answer to it is the cost of inaction of the U.S. not competing is far greater than any incentive on the front
Okay,
end.
quantify that for me. Oh, man, I'm way over. I'm sorry, Sheldon. Quantify that for me, because here's
Why
my...
don't you wrap up with this, because I think
I will.
everybody's had a chance to try to answer your question, and
Here's
you're
my
repeating
problem.
it at this
Okay,
point.
we all want clean air. We all want bright water. We all want to eat, and we all want to live indoors. Okay, but there are trade-offs in all of this. Despite what the Princeton professor thinks, we don't have unlimited money. This is not Princeton, so we have to decide the cost and the benefits. And nobody seems to be able to quantify the costs. They just say, keep throwing money at it, throwing money at it, throwing money at it. And nobody can really quantify the benefits, except if we don't do it, then we're all going to die. And when I go back to my people and say, your electricity costs have gone up 30%, but it's for a good cause. Why, Kennedy? Because you're going to die if we don't do it. Why, Kennedy? Because a professor at Princeton says so. That doesn't work for most Americans.
News today, so you never miss when we break down moments like this. All right, let's roll the snippet and see the hearing in action. Wow, just wow. I have to say, watching Senator Kennedy in this hearing really reinforced why we need politicians who actually care about accountability. First off, they repeatedly asked the witnesses the simple question: if electric vehicles are so great, why do we have to pay people to drive them? And time again, the experts either sidestepped the question or gave vague answers about policy, adoption, and innovation. Meanwhile, Senator Kennedy is holding them to task, pointing out the real trade-offs for everyday Americans. Let's talk numbers. There are 283 million cars in the US, and only 3.3 million are electric. That's about 1.6%. Yet, we're spending roughly $2 billion a year to incentivize EV adoption. And when asked what it would cost to convert, say, 75% of Americans to EVs, nobody knows. Not a single witness could give a concrete figure. Senator Kennedy is absolutely right to press on this. People aren't just driving EVs because they're awesome. They're expensive, charging infrastructure is limited, and when they do run out of battery, you literally can't go anywhere. Yet, we're being asked to pour billions more into incentives without a clear idea of the payoff. And here's the kicker. The witnesses kept framing it as an investment in the future, but Senator Kennedy makes the audience see the real-world impact, household budgets, electricity prices, and the hard truth that we don't have unlimited money. This isn't Princeton University. It's the United States of America, where families are making tough choices every day. Even when they brought up China's EV subsidies, Senator Kennedy calls out, sure, they're spending billions, but what about the long-term cost to become carbon neutral? What about Russia's and the global economy's real numbers? These aren't just academic questions. They're about the practical limits of what taxpayers can afford. Honestly, I love that Senator Kennedy isn't buying the we'll just throw money at it argument. They're asking the questions that matter, pointing out that benefits are being promised, but costs are invisible, and most importantly, they're speaking for the average American. If you watch this and think like I do, that we need accountability before we start spending trillions, then you can see why Senator Kennedy is standing out in this hearing. They're the voice asking, show me the numbers. Show me the trade-offs. Don't just sell me theory. All right, hot news today, fam. That's my take. I want to hear your opinion. Are we throwing money at EVs without knowing the cost? Or do you think the investments are worth it for the future? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Smash that like button if you agree with Senator Kennedy's approach. And don't forget to subscribe for more reactions like this. Until next time, stay informed, stay skeptical, and I'll see you in the next video.